What would you do if you discovered your mom and sister were plotting to steal your house? Many people will say I'm making this up, but that's precisely what I went through. Luckily, my 10-year-old daughter figured out their scheme. Let's follow this story together. I'll tell you about my mom's dark plan and how I stopped their plot. Before I get into the details, let me express my sincere gratitude from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for taking your precious time to follow this story. Hello, everyone. I'm Giovanni, a 42-year-old single dad living with my daughter, Anna, in Chicago. I work as a manager at a logistics company. The pay isn't great, but it's enough to support my daughter and maintain a stable life. The 4-bedroom house we're living in is my most significant asset and also my most incredible pride. I spent almost 15 years working, saving every dollar, sacrificing so many things to be able to buy it. Every brick, every corner of this house is soaked with my sweat and effort. Life for us two was pretty peaceful before this. Anna went to school and I went to work. In the evenings, we'd cook together and read books before bed. Simple but happy. But to have this happiness, I had to pay a considerable price, cutting ties with my mom and my sister. The story I'm telling today happened one evening in May 2024. That day, around 7 in the evening, Anna and I were preparing dinner when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there in front of me were Mom, my sister Naomi with her 6-month pregnant belly, and my niece Bella. They stood at my door with a few suitcases, and I could tell right away they weren't just visiting. After I opened the door, Mom looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Giovanni, I know this is sudden, but I don't have any other choice. My house is being renovated. It's too dusty to live in." Before I could say anything, Naomi started crying. My sister wiped her tears and said to me, "Giovanni, I just fought with David. I'm pregnant, and he's mistreating me. I don't know where else to go." I looked at my sister, her round pregnant belly, then at Bella standing beside her, looking exhausted. At that moment, my heart softened. After all, they were my family. My mom gave birth to me, and Naomi is my biological sister. I couldn't close the door on them, especially when my sister was pregnant and had nowhere to go. After hearing what they said, I sighed and stepped aside. My voice was gentle but still had some hesitation. "All right, come on in. We'll figure things out later." In that moment, I had no idea I'd just opened the door to a storm. The first week after Mom and my sister came to stay at my house went by pretty smoothly, at least on the surface. Mom helped with cooking, and I have to admit it had been a long time since I'd eaten meals cooked by her. Naomi rested and took care of her pregnancy, spending most of her time lying in her room or sitting watching TV. Bella and Anna played together. The laughter of the two kids made the house seem more cheerful. As for me, I was busy with work and often came home late in the evenings. The company was in its busy season, and I didn't have much time to pay attention to what was happening at home. I also don't have the habit of getting into other people's business. Mom said her house was being renovated, so I believed it was. Naomi said she fought with her husband, so I thought that was between husband and wife. They'd work it out themselves. But there was one thing that bothered me a bit. Anna, my daughter, seemed to talk less than usual. Whenever I asked if something was wrong, she'd shake her head and say nothing was wrong. Sometimes in the evenings when I walked through the living room, I'd see Mom and Naomi whispering to each other. But as soon as they saw me, they'd stop and switch to talking about the weather or something else. Back then, I didn't pay much attention to it. I figured they were probably discussing Naomi and David's situation, women's stuff that I didn't need to know about. During the 2nd and 3rd weeks after Mom and my sister came to stay at my house, I began to have some questions. One evening, while the whole family was having dinner, I turned to ask Mom, "Mom, how's the house renovation going? When will it be done?" When she heard my question, Mom didn't look at me. Her eyes stayed glued to her plate as she answered. "The workers said they're still waiting for materials. I don't really know much." Mom's vague answer bothered me a bit, but I didn't want to push further. A few seconds later, I turned to Naomi and tried to ask gently, "What about you and David? Has he called?" When she heard me mention David, Naomi's face immediately darkened. My sister's voice was cold when she replied, "I don't want to talk about him." Seeing my sister look upset, I nodded and didn't ask anymore. But in my heart, one question kept bothering me. During the almost 3 weeks, David hadn't come to visit his wife and child even once. No calls, no texts, not even one visit. Naomi was carrying his child, yet he'd disappeared, as if he had never existed. During that time, I also noticed Naomi was always on her phone, but whenever I walked by, she'd quickly turn off the screen. And the whispered conversations between Mom and my sister in the evenings were getting more frequent. My work was still busy during that time, and I still didn't have time to look into things more carefully. But deep down, an uneasy feeling began to grow. Something wasn't right, and I knew it. On the 20th night since their arrival, everything began to change. Like every night, I sat on Anna's bed, reading her a story before bedtime. When the story ended, and I was about to turn off the light, Anna grabbed my hand. Her eyes looked at me full of worry. My daughter's voice trembled as she whispered, "Dad, I have a secret I want to tell you." Hearing what she said, I sat back down, looking at her with complete attention. Anna then made me promise I wouldn't tell anyone that she'd told me. After a few seconds of hesitation, I promised her, and then she started talking. She told me that a few days ago, while she was playing in her room, she heard Grandma and Aunt Naomi talking in the living room. They didn't know she was nearby, and what she heard scared her. I listened, and every word she said was like a knife stabbing straight into my heart. Anna said she heard Grandma say something about 30 days and can't be kicked. She heard Aunt Naomi laugh and say, "He's so stupid, never knew anything since he was little." Then both of them laughed together. After telling me this, my daughter looked at me with worried eyes and asked, "Dad, were they talking about you? Why did Grandma say you were stupid?" In that moment, I felt like someone had just poured a bucket of ice water over my head. My body went stiff. My hands gripped the edge of the bed, trying to hold back my anger. I knew I couldn't let her see my panic. I forced a smile, kissed her forehead, and said gently, "Thank you for telling me. You're such a good girl. Now go to sleep, I'll take care of everything." Anna nodded, but I could see she was still worried. I sat next to her until she fell asleep. After closing Anna's door, I went straight downstairs. The house was quiet. Mom and Naomi had gone to their rooms. I sat down on the sofa in the darkness, my head spinning. 30 days. They were counting days. I knew the law. I knew that in many states, if someone lives in your house for a certain amount of time, they can be considered tenants and you can't simply kick them out. You have to go through legal procedures which could take weeks, even months. And Naomi was pregnant. If she gave birth in my house, everything would get even more complicated. Right then, I knew they'd planned this from the beginning. From the very night they showed up at my door with suitcases in hand, they knew exactly what they were doing, and I was determined not to let anyone take away what belonged to me. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling, and memories from the past kept flooding back. I remembered when Dad was still alive. Everything was different. Dad was fair, always treating Naomi and me equally. I still remember Dad telling us, "You're both my children. I love you the same. Don't ever think I favor anyone." But then Dad passed away when I was 15, after a sudden heart attack. And from that day, everything changed. Mom's favoritism toward Naomi became clearly evident. When Naomi went to college, Mom paid for all her tuition. And me? I had to take out student loans and I had to work 2 part-time jobs to make ends meet. When I asked Mom why it was so different, she looked at me, annoyed, and answered, "You're a man, you can take care of yourself. Your sister is a girl. She needs more care." That was the first time, and also the last time, I asked Mom why she favored Naomi. Mom was very clever in using the excuse that Naomi was a woman, so she needed favoritism. That's when I knew I could only build everything with my own hands without any help from anyone. Years later, when Naomi got married, Mom spent over $15,000 on a grand wedding. Her wedding was like a dream, with fresh flowers everywhere, a 5-tier wedding cake, and over 100 guests. When I got married a year later, Mom only gave me $500. $500 for the entire wedding. When I asked why there was such a vast difference, Mom just said one short sentence, "You're a man, why are you always comparing yourself to women?" Back then, I swallowed my anger and told myself it was family, and I shouldn't be petty. But the unfairness didn't stop there. Even between the grandchildren, Mom treated them clearly differently. Birthday gifts for Bella were always expensive items. Gifts for Anna? Dollar store items. Cheap things that showed no care. I still remember once Anna asked me, her voice full of confusion, "Dad, why does Grandma love Bella more than me?" At that time, I didn't know how to answer her. I just hugged her and said Grandma loved her in her own way. But the truth was, I knew Mom didn't love Anna the way she loved Bella. And she didn't love me the way she loved Naomi. In Mom's eyes, I was just the son who had to take care of himself, while Naomi was the little princess who needed to be pampered. For so many years, I'd been patient. I told myself it was family, blood that couldn't be cut. I tried not to mind the unfairness, tried to believe that somehow Mom still loved me in her own way. But this time, after what my daughter told me, I realized they'd gone too far. They weren't just taking advantage of my kindness. They saw me as a fool, an easy mark, a fat sheep just waiting to be slaughtered. Lying on my bed in the darkness, I made my decision. This time, I wouldn't be patient anymore. The next morning, I got up early as usual. When I came downstairs, Mom was making breakfast in the kitchen, and Naomi wasn't up yet. I sat down at the dining table, pretending as if nothing had happened. But in my head, a plan was forming. I needed evidence. Anna's story was enough for me to know the truth. But without concrete proof, they would later twist the truth, badmouth me, and people would believe them. I knew Mom and Naomi too well. They could turn me into the villain with just a few sentences. When Mom placed a plate of eggs in front of me, I took out my wallet and pulled out $500. I handed the money to Mom and said in the most normal voice I could, "Mom, I have an important online meeting today that might last all morning. I need the house to be quiet. Can you take Naomi and the 2 kids out to eat and shop?" Mom's eyes lit up when she saw the money I gave her. She took it immediately, her voice cheerful when she replied, Sure. Don't worry about your meeting. I'll take them out until this afternoon so you have a quiet space." I nodded, quickly drank my coffee, and went back to my room. An hour later, when Mom, Naomi, and the 2 kids had left the house, 2 installation workers arrived. They worked quickly and professionally. I had 4 hidden cameras installed, each with a recording function. 1 in the living room, 1 in Naomi's bedroom, 1 in Mom's bedroom, and 1 in the kitchen area. When the workers finished and left, I stood in the middle of the living room, looking around. No one could detect the cameras. They were perfectly hidden. I know some people might think what I did was wrong, but this is my house. I have the right to know what's happening in my own home, and I needed evidence to protect myself. Without evidence, they'd twist everything later. They'd say I was the evil one who kicked out an elderly mother and pregnant sister. They'd turn me into the bad guy in everyone's eyes. I couldn't let that happen. 2 days after installing the cameras, I had a short business trip in the nearby area. On the way back, a thought suddenly flashed in my head. For almost 3 weeks, whenever I asked about the house renovation, Mom always gave vague answers. Those unclear responses bothered me. And after what Anna told me, I needed to verify it myself. When I stopped my car in front of Mom's house, for a moment, I thought I had the wrong address. The house showed no signs of renovation at all. No scaffolding, no construction materials piled up, no hammering or drilling sounds. Instead, the front yard was neatly trimmed, and there was an unfamiliar car parked in the garage. I got out of the car and walked toward the gate. Right then, the front door opened, and a middle-aged woman came out. She looked at me with curiosity, clearly not knowing who I was. I spoke first, keeping my voice calm. "Excuse me, can I ask you something? I'm Margaret's son, who used to live in this house." The woman raised her eyebrows in surprise, then smiled friendly and replied, "Oh, Margaret, we bought this house from her over a month ago." I felt the ground under my feet shake after hearing that answer. I tried to keep my voice normal and asked, "Over a month? Can you be more specific?" The woman thought silently, then answered, "We signed the contract at the beginning of April and completed the paperwork at the end of the month. We moved in here about 5 weeks ago." I thanked the new homeowner, then turned and walked back to my car. That's when I realized the house renovation story was just a lie. They never had a house to return to. They'd sold it before knocking on my door, with their suitcases and tears already prepared. On the drive home, my head was spinning with thousands of thoughts. All the pieces started fitting together. The story about fighting with David, the house renovation story, Naomi's tears. It was all a carefully staged script, and their target from the beginning was my house. I gripped the steering wheel tightly. A rage mixed with pain was rising in my chest. However, I still had to stay calm and wait for evidence from the hidden cameras I'd installed in the house. 5 days after installing the cameras, I finally got what I needed. Every day during lunch break or in the evenings, I'd spend hours reviewing the video footage from the cameras. Most of it was normal daily activities, nothing special. But I patiently waited, because I knew sooner or later they'd talk. And then, on the 25th day since they arrived, I captured the decisive video. That day, around 11:30 a.m., during my lunch break, I habitually checked the video the cameras had recorded. In the video, Mom and Naomi were sitting in the living room. It was around 9 a.m. I'd gone to work and Anna was at her art class. Bella was home with Mom and Naomi. They didn't know a camera was recording everything. They talked casually, even laughed cheerfully. Naomi leaned toward Mom, her voice full of excitement. Just 5 more days. According to the law, when we've lived here for 30 days, he can't kick us out easily anymore. Mom nodded, her eyes gleaming with calculation. That's right. If he wants to kick us out, then he'll have to go through legal procedures, which takes at least a month. Plus, you're pregnant. Who would dare touch us? After Mom's response, Naomi laughed loudly, her voice full of satisfaction. When I give birth, he definitely won't dare kick us out. Who would kick out a new mother and newborn baby? Hearing that, Mom laughed too, her voice like she was discussing a perfect plan. If he dares to do that, we'll record a video and post it online. The whole world will curse him for being heartless. Then Naomi said something else, something I'll never forget. Giovanni is so stupid, Mom. He never knew anything since he was little. After that statement, both of them laughed loudly, their laughter echoing in the living room, the laughter of people proud of their scheme. I sat in front of my phone screen, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Everything Anna had told me 5 days earlier was completely accurate. My little daughter had heard it all, and she'd been brave enough to say to me. Right away, I saved the video to my phone and backed up another copy to my email. That's when I made my decision. That day was their last day in this house. That afternoon, around 5 o'clock, after work, I picked Anna up from school. In my head, I planned to expose them and kick them out right after I got home. When I got home, Mom, Naomi, and Bella were getting ready to go out. They said they were going shopping, and I knew they wouldn't be back early. As soon as the taxi carrying them disappeared from view, I acted immediately. I went to Mom's room first. I opened the closet, took out all her clothes and personal items, and put them in the suitcase she'd brought when she came. I didn't throw things around carelessly, and I didn't tear or damage anything. I packed her things. Then I went to Naomi's room and did the same. Clothes, personal items, everything belonging to her and Bella, I carefully gathered it all. After almost an hour, 5 suitcases were neatly packed. I brought them all out and placed them on the front porch. Then I sat down in the chair on the porch and waited for them to return. Anna sat next to me, silent. She didn't ask what I was doing, and I knew she understood. She was a smart kid, and she'd known the truth for days. In my heart, there was no hesitation or doubt anymore. This was the house I'd bought with my own sweat and tears. No one had the right to steal it from me, even if that person was my birth mother or sister. Around 7 in the evening, the taxi carrying them stopped in front of the house. Mom got out first, followed by Naomi, who had a pregnant belly, and finally Bella. They carried several shopping bags, clearly having had a pleasant afternoon. But when they saw the 5 suitcases placed on the porch, they all froze in place. At that moment, I stood up from the porch chair, my face cold as ice. Mom was the first to speak. Her voice panicked. Giovanni? What's this? What are you doing? Immediately, I looked straight into Mom's eyes, my voice calm but firm. I'm returning your things. You can leave now. Naomi immediately started acting. She held her belly, her voice trembling. Giovanni, I'm pregnant. You can't do this to me. I looked at my sister, the woman who'd called me stupid just hours before, and I felt disgust rising. My voice was cold. Stop acting, Naomi. I know everything. Hearing what I said, Mom stepped forward, trying to stay calm, but I could see panic in her eyes. She demanded, what do you know? What nonsense are you talking about? Mom's question made me laugh. I laughed mockingly at their deception. Not wanting to waste time arguing, I took my phone out of my pocket and asked, "Do you want to see? I have video." Right after that, I pressed play. Mom and Naomi's voices rang out in the quiet evening air. As soon as the first sentences of the conversation played back, Mom's face went pale. Naomi stood like she'd turned to stone, her eyes wide with horror. They heard their own voices. They listened to their own scheme played back word for word. After almost 2 minutes of silence, Naomi was the first to react. Listening to the voices in the video, she screamed, her voice full of rage. "You recorded us? You have no right to do that." I laughed out loud after Naomi's statement. I replied, my voice still calm. "This is my house. I have the right to install surveillance equipment in my own home." At this point, Mom tried to salvage the situation, her voice shaking. "Giovanni, we were just joking. You misunderstood." As soon as Mom finished speaking, I looked at her, the woman who gave birth to me, and I asked a simple question. "Joking? So where's your house? Why are other people living in it?" When I mentioned the house, Mom's face went white as a sheet. She couldn't answer. I continued questioning Mom, my voice ice cold. "You sold the house, didn't you? Sold it before coming here asking to stay. It was all planned from the beginning." After that question, the air fell into terrifying silence. Both Mom and Naomi couldn't deny it. The evidence was too apparent. The lies had been exposed. Too tired of arguing with them, I turned my back and went into the house, closing the door behind me, leaving them standing outside. From inside, I heard my mom banging on the door and Naomi crying. They called my name, begged, then cursed, then begged again. But I didn't open the door. Anna sat next to me on the sofa, her hand gripping mine tightly. I knew she was scared, but I also knew she understood why I had to do this. About 15 minutes later, I heard a car stop in front of the house. Through the window, I saw it was a police car. They'd called the cops. Right after that, I opened the door and stepped out. 2 officers, one male and one female, were standing on the porch. Mom and Naomi stood next to them, faces full of tears. The male officer looked at me and asked in a professional voice, "Sir, we received a call about a family dispute. Can you tell us what's happening?" I nodded and explained the situation briefly. I showed them the video recording of Mom and Naomi's conversation that took place in my living room that morning. Both officers oversaw the video. When the video ended, the male officer shook his head in disgust. He turned to Mom and Naomi, his voice serious. "Ma'am, from what I can see, this is his property. He has the right to ask you to leave." Mom tried to argue back, her voice shrill. "But he filmed us without permission. That's illegal." The male officer replied, his voice patient but firm. "Ma'am, this is his house. He has the right to install surveillance equipment in his own home." Seeing that the police were all on my side, Naomi started crying louder, holding her belly and screaming, "I'm pregnant. He can't kick a pregnant woman out on the street." The male officer looked at Naomi, his voice still calm. "Ma'am, even if you gave birth right now, he still has the right to refuse to let you into his house. This is his private property." Right after that, the female officer stepped forward, her voice serious. "Now, I'm asking you to leave before we have to write up a report." Mom and Naomi stood there, faces pale. They realized they'd lost. All their plans had collapsed. Finally, Naomi took out her phone and called a taxi. 10 minutes later, they got in the car with 5 suitcases, Bella following with a confused look, not understanding what was happening. I stood watching the taxi until it disappeared from view. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. After kicking them out of my house, I thought everything was over, but I was wrong. The next morning, at 6 a.m., my phone was ringing nonstop. The first caller was Aunt Lauren, Mom's sister. As soon as I picked up, her voice screamed, "Giovanni, you're evil. Naomi is pregnant, and you kicked her and your mother out of the house at 10 at night. Are you even human?" I was stunned, not understanding what she was talking about. I tried to stay calm and asked, "What are you saying?" "I never kicked them out at 10 at night." Aunt Lauren continued yelling, "Don't deny it. Last night, around 1 in the morning, your mom and sister called me for help. They said you threw them out on the street in the middle of the night." Hearing what Aunt Lauren said, anger rose in my chest. They'd twisted the truth. They'd turned me into the villain just like I'd thought they would. Not wanting to argue with Aunt Lauren, I tried to explain with a controlled voice. They're lying. The police arrived at 7 in the evening and left right after. I packed their things completely, 5 suitcases. But no matter what I said, Aunt Lauren wouldn't listen. Her voice still full of rage. I don't believe you. You're ungrateful. I'm gonna tell everyone. After saying that, she hung up, leaving me with the frustration rising in my chest from being woken up at 6 a.m. with Mom and Naomi's lies. Throughout that day, I received over 10 calls from relatives. All of them cursed me for kicking out Mom and a pregnant sister in the middle of the night. Some said I was heartless, while others said I'd get my comeuppance. Some even threatened to come to my house to teach me a lesson. Mom and Naomi had done precisely what they said in the video. They twisted the truth to get sympathy from everyone and turned me into the bad guy. In that moment, I understood that without the video, I would forever be guilty in everyone's eyes. After receiving a series of calls from relatives, I remembered something strange I'd thought about a few days earlier. David, Naomi's husband. During the entire 25 days Naomi stayed with us, David hadn't come to visit his wife and child even once. No calls, no texts, not one visit. That wasn't normal. I decided to call David to find out the truth. When David answered, his voice was tired and resigned. I asked him straight about the situation between him and Naomi. David was silent for a long time, then sighed and said, "It's about time you knew the truth." Hearing that, I felt a bit shocked, and then David told me everything. A few months earlier, Naomi had taken all their savings to invest in cryptocurrency. She got caught up in promises of huge profits and dumped everything into it without telling her husband. As a result, she lost it all. But she didn't stop there. She borrowed more money from outside trying to recover, and lost that too. The total debt amounted to over $800,000. Their house had to be sold to pay the debt. David and Naomi had separated, but because she was pregnant, they couldn't divorce yet. David didn't visit because he had nothing left to say to her. Besides, Naomi also forbade David from seeing Bella. When I asked about Mom's house, David's answer hit me like a punch to the gut. David explained that Mom loved her daughter so much that she'd sold her own house to help pay off some of Naomi's debt. Hearing this, I realized they had no money left to buy a smaller house. That's why they came to my house, with a plan to take it over so they'd have a place to live and continue their lives. After the call with David, I put the phone down, my head spinning. I was angry, but not about the money. I was angry because Mom's blind favoritism toward Naomi over all these years had led to this outcome. I was angry because they saw me as a fat sheep, just waiting to be slaughtered. After the call with David and the cursing from relatives, I decided not to let myself be slandered anymore. That evening, I created a group chat with all the relatives. Almost 20 people, including Aunt Lauren, and all the relatives who'd called to curse me that day. After creating it, I sent the video recording of Mom and Naomi's conversation to the group. Along with the video, I wrote a long message. I explained to them that the video I sent was a recording of the conversation between Mom and Naomi in my own house. They'd planned to take over my home from the beginning. I also revealed to everyone that Naomi had invested money in cryptocurrency and how Mom had sold her house to save her daughter. For the next 20 minutes, the group chat was utterly silent. I knew they were watching the video, hearing Mom and Naomi's actual voices, realizing they'd been lied to. Then messages started appearing one by one, first shock, then apology messages. Aunt Lauren was the first to call me. Her voice trembled with regret as she said, "Giovanni, I'm sorry. I believed your mom and sister without asking you first." I replied, my voice tired but no longer angry, "It's okay. You were fooled like everyone else." Aunt Lauren told me that after watching the video, she'd kicked Mom and Naomi out of her house. They'd come asking to stay after leaving my house, and Aunt Lauren had let them stay because she believed their story. But after the truth was revealed, she couldn't accept having people like that under her roof. Apology calls continued throughout that night. One by one, they realized the truth and understood that I'd been wronged. Mom and Naomi had lost all credibility with all the relatives. A year has passed since the incident occurred. Anna and I's lives have returned to normal. We still live in the 4-bedroom house, still cook together every evening, still read stories before bed. Peaceful life has returned. From that day until now, I haven't received any contact from Mom or Naomi. Not a single call, not a single message. And honestly, I don't want to receive contact from them either. I heard Naomi gave birth to a boy. I don't know the details, and I don't want to know. Some people ask me if I regret it. The answer is no. I gave them a chance. I opened my home to them when they said they had nowhere to go. I trusted them, took care of them, and spent money on them. And they used that opportunity to deceive me, to plot to steal everything I had. I don't hate Mom or my sister. Hatred is too heavy an emotion, and I don't want to carry it with me. But I also don't want them in my life anymore. Some relationships, when betrayed to that extent, can never be repaired. Anna is 11 now. She's grown bigger, more mature, and I'm incredibly proud of her. Sometimes she asks about Grandma and Aunt Naomi. I tell her they live very far away, and we no longer stay in touch. Maybe someday, when Anna is old enough, I'll tell her the whole truth. But not now. Right now, she needs to know that I love her and I'll always protect her, no matter what happens. Through this story, I would like to share a few things with you. First, don't let family ties cloud your judgment. Family is important, but not everyone who carries the family name deserves your trust. Some people exploit blood relationships for profit, and they'll never feel guilty about it. Second, you have the right to protect yourself. You don't have an obligation to sacrifice everything for people who only know how to take advantage of you. Being kind doesn't mean being naive, and being good-hearted doesn't mean letting others take advantage of you. And finally, always have evidence. In this day and age, words are just wind. Only evidence can protect you when everything goes bad. If I didn't have that video, I'd forever be the evil one in the relative's eyes, the ungrateful child who kicked his elderly mother out on the street. Before ending this story, I want to ask you a question. If you were in my situation, what would you do? Do you think I was too harsh with my mom and sister? Or do you think I did the right thing protecting my house and my life? Leave a comment in the comments section and share your thoughts. I really want to hear everyone's opinions. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found this story helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share to support us. See you in the following stories.